And if you could could say anything to him right now, what would you say?
I would say test 1 2 2 1. Apple Charlie. I was starting to have this recurring dream at the age of, I want to say 14, and it stopped happening when I would turn 21. The way how the dream worked was that on my birthday every night it lasted. I couldn't tell you how long it lasted, but it felt forever. It was me in the woods, just dark and just running. My heart's pounding. I have no idea what I'm running from. I'm just have this feeling of running, that something's behind me. I need to get away. And once that happened, I would then I wouldn't see, but I would look behind me and not see nothing and end up tripping over, I call it a log. I ended up tripping over a log, and after I tripped over this log, I woke up. It accumulated, adding on the aspect of doing the same thing. It started from the beginning of me running. Then I ended up tripping. And after I ended up tripping and do like a barrel roll or something like anything in those type of field, I would happen to look back, and that's when I saw a pair of red eyes. And after I saw the pair of red eyes, I snapped awake again. When you see something red, it's like a demon type feel. But instead of it being just like the normal standard demon that people wants to use, that they'll see in every single, all the movies, it's like your own internal demon. You're running away from your own. You don't want to see yourself. The line that was happening in the dream is that it always happened at night. So at night, there's no light. You don't know where you're at. You don't know where you're going. You're confused. You're lost. You have no recollection of what was behind you, what's in front of you. All you have the feeling is that your own heartbeat. You can hear everything around you even more significantly than you would if you was in somewhere in a bright room. It's almost like being locked up in a room that is soundproof, to where you're just forced to sit there and just listen to nothingness. That sense of loneliness, that feeling of being alone, that from 13 until 21, I felt by myself. Yeah, I had family members. I had a brother and a sister and my mom, but I'd never really had someone that was always there, because I learned the hard way about people not staying there. But
Who are you thinking of when you say that?
I'm thinking of my grandfather, really. So my grandfather, his name was Samuel Turner. He died when I was in middle school in 7th grade. From best of my memory, me and my grandfather was tight. Like, whenever he wanted me, I was always there. And he always used to tell me stories back when I was young. I remember being at his house, and he had these, it was in Detroit, downtown Detroit, Michigan. And he stayed in a retirement home that he was on the 8th floor. And at the 8th floor, we was able to see Belle Isle. And what I used to do with that is that he had these binoculars. Those binoculars I would use just to sit there and just look at the sunset. That was my biggest thing, was just watching the sunrise. And he was always telling me stories on how he used to watch the sunset and the sunrise while he was in the military. He was someone that I looked up to, and someone that I felt comfortable to tell anything. My grandfather was career military. He put in 20 years before retiring. One story that I can recall is him telling me about being out in a cabin, normal cabin out in the woods, and They were stationed there. They were taking turns to watch for enemies to make sure no one was going to come by. And he stated that on one night, it was a full moon. It was bright. It was just bright as any night can be, really. And he heard dogs. That's how he called it. He heard dogs barking. And at first, while he heard the dogs barking, he thought that was the enemy sending in dogs, sending in reinforcements. Like, they found out where he was, so he woke up his entire platoon. And as he woke up his entire platoon, they said they didn't hear anything, but he was still hearing dogs the entire time. And next, he was like, he didn't understand as to why he was hearing these dogs and nobody else was hearing dogs. After being yelled at, he managed to convince everyone to leave the cabin. And after convincing them all to leave the cabin, those same binoculars that I was using, he used. Just watch the cabin. That's when the enemies came to that cabin and they actually blew up that cabin. He was like, wow, I never just... That instant when me being a kid and him telling me that, like, oh, they blew up their cabin, I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, because of him hearing something, like a gut feeling telling him to leave, he actually got everybody up and out of there and they all left. It drew me into a huge respect towards him, and to have a really large respect for anyone that's in the military. Because, well, military, police officers, anything in those line of fields, because they are putting their life on the line, just like everybody else during the day. But to sign up willingly and knowing the consequences of what can happen, that you can't come back someday, that we all pray that you'll come back, but you never know. The things that he used to say and what he used to do, he was always big in, like, dressing appropriate. Like, there was never a day that I ever saw him that he would dress casual. He dressed professional every single day. Dress to impress. Dress because don't let nobody else see behind. Just dress to impress, dress to look neat. You don't want to give anyone bad information. You don't want to lead people thinking that you're a slob or anything like that. It's dressed to look neat, like you have something. And for the longest time, I didn't understand it. The fact of him being a career military, he was not supporting the fro at all. He wanted me bald. He wanted it shaved completely off, no hairstyles, no nothing. And the last thing he said to me was, you should get a haircut. I was expecting to get, like, talk about something else or to see how you're doing or anything like that. But the last thing that stuck out to this day is that he told me, you should get a haircut. It didn't sit well. With him telling me that you should get a haircut didn't sit well with me at all, because I was always, like, he was that role model to me. Like, that, the whole aspect of, it shouldn't care, like, I didn't care the way how he looked. I didn't care that, anything like that. So, for him to heavily state to me on the dying day, because he died the day after that I should get a haircut, that implemented that he cared a lot about how I was presenting myself. I was not wanting to listen. I was wanting to do my own thing, be my own boss. I was that type of kid that was like, I pretended that I was grown when I wasn't. When he told me that I should get a haircut, it felt like a stab in the back. The thing on it was that me and my grandfather was just so tight, and it's like from being young to 5th grade, it was just me being a kid. And by the 7th grade, after he passed and him telling me to just get a haircut, it's like I didn't want that same bond that me and him had to just go away so quickly. That's now at this time of being much older, I understand it a little bit more. It's not a sense of looking fresh. It's more feeling good about yourself. Doing something that's going to make you appreciate what you look like, how you feel. He was trying to get me to grow up, but I couldn't do it then. I just wanted to live wild and free. When the dress to impress became important to me was when I started to go to college. The one thing to get from a recurring dream is that if you have it a lot, if you have something that constantly passes by day in, day out, it means it's happening for a reason. And through my life, it took the death of my grandfather, recurring dreams that I was having. It's the feeling of, at first, not knowing what's behind me, not knowing what's in front of me. All I know, I'm just running, to knowing what it is that's chasing me, to trying to find a safe spot, and then to an ending of knowing what's right and what's wrong. Wanting to just be stuck in a dream world, really. Like, your dreams can be one of different things. Your dreams can be happy, they could be sad, they could be something that you experience in your life, or something that's gonna tell you about your future in a way. Dreams have a much easier standpoint than trying to deal with reality. Just like being in a video game, it's being in somewhere that's creative, that you're not you, that you can be somebody else, something else. You can deal with someone else's life. You're in control. It's that sense of having control over the reactions, the words that you can say. In a dream world, you control all of it, but in reality, you don't.
Wesley, a hand, please. Have one, stand up.